Hi, boys and girls. Today I'm going to be reading Timeless Thomas, How Thomas Edison Changed Our Lives. And this story was written by Jean Barretta. And before I begin, boys and girls, I do want to take a moment to thank the publishers, Henry Holt and Company, for allowing us to share their story with you today. Have you ever thought about inventing something of your own? You're never too young to try. Thomas Alva Edison began experimenting when he was just a boy. That's right, it was the beginning of a life dedicated to improving the world with his brilliant ideas and inventions. And I know a lot of you boys and girls love inventing things, so you can do all of this just as well. Okay. But Thomas couldn't do it alone. When he grew up, he gathered a large team of scientists, engineers, mechanics, and artisans in Menlo Park, New Jersey. Together, they started the first research and development laboratory in the world. It became known as the Invention Factory. Later, a second lab was built in West Orange, New Jersey. It was even bigger and busier. These were the sites of his greatest successes and his most valuable failures. Edison used his failures as a necessary part of inventing. He once said, "I know several thousand things that won't work," and he would always try again. So whenever something does not work out for us, boys and girls, we shouldn't just give up. We should always keep going and try again. Present day. We can now record any sound we like and save it. This was not possible before Edison. Edison's lab. Edison's tinfoil phonograph was the first device to record sound and play it back. It was a major scientific breakthrough and earned him his nickname, the Wizard of Menlo Park. That's pretty impressive for a man who was partially deaf. And as you can see here, boys and girls, this is a music player, and he was listening to the nursery rhyme, Mary Had a Little Lamb. And this is how it worked. These are the instructions. To record, cover the cylinder with tin, rotate it, and speak into the horn. The voice vibrates a needle on the end of the horn. The vibrating needle makes small sound grooves on the rotating tin. To listen, stop and place the needle back to the start. Rotate the cylinder. The needle rides over the sound grooves and plays your recording. Present day. If Thomas Edison were alive today, he would be fascinated by the many ways we listen to recorded sounds. It all started with his phonograph. So imagine, boys and girls, if he would not have invented that, would we even be able to listen to the music we like? That's interesting to know. Edison's lab. Edison constantly improved on his phonograph so it could have multiple purposes. Models were designed for homes and public arcades. Phonographs were also introduced to offices as the first dictation machines. It became possible for office workers to record spoken information, save it, then play it back when they were ready to copy it down. A small phonograph was built for the first talking doll. And if you've ever had a talking toy or a talking doll and it has a little machine, that was part of what Thomas Edison invented. Present day. Today, the telephone is the easiest and quickest way to contact someone. The telephone was first invented by Alexander Graham Bell, yet Edison improved it. Edison's lab. All telephones have a transmitter where we speak and a receiver where we listen. Edison created a transmitter that was powerful enough to send our voices much farther and make them sound much louder. So basically, he invented the phone that could transmit sound from pretty far away. Edison introduced the word hello as the official telephone greeting. Alexander Graham Bell, who was the person who had actually invented the phone, wanted us to use the words ahoy hoy. And here it's showing you this is a receiver and this is a transmitter. Present day, the photocopier and the tattoo needle seem to have nothing in common. But in Edison's lab, yet they were both based on Edison's electric pen. It was the first motorized copier. Like a tattoo machine, the electric pen contained a small needle that moved in and out. While writing a message, the needle poked holes in the paper to create a stencil. Ink was spread over the stencil to make copies. Lewis Carroll, the author of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, was a big fan of the electric pen. So this is how they would do their publishing as well. Present day. Need a battery? Take your pick. Today they are made in many shapes and sizes. And if you've ever seen the battery section at the stores, boys and girls, you know that there are plenty of different sizes and different brands that you can choose from too. Edison's lab. One of Edison's biggest successes was his nickel iron storage battery. It was originally created to power an electric car. But since the electric car didn't catch on, he found many other important uses for it. For example, Edison's battery was used to power rural homes, local delivery trucks, buoys, railway cars and signals, boats and submarines, and miners' lamps. So all these things here, boys and girls, use the batteries that Thomas Edison created. Present day. Before vending machines became a popular stop for tasty treats, Edison had the idea of a large-scale vending machine for the urban poor. It featured coin-operated openings across a wall, each one filled with necessities like coal and farm products. When members of our government cast a vote, they used very basic voting machines. But in Thomas Edison's lab, he invented a vote recorder for the government. It was his very first patent. Having a patent means you legally own an invention. Over the course of his career, he was awarded 1,093 patents for his ideas. The X-ray machine is a common way to photograph the inside of our bodies. In Edison's lab, his fluoroscope was the first example of X-ray technology. It generated bright and fast images. The basic design is still used today. So what he invented, that is still used today, boys and girls. Present day. When we hear the word Hollywood, we think of bright lights, big movies, and glamorous celebrities. But did you know that Hollywood is not the birthplace of the movies? The movie industry was essentially started at Edison's lab. His goal was to offer an experience that does for the eye what the phonograph does for the ear. So in Edison's lab, he created the first motion picture camera, the kinetograph. The technology was similar to our modern movie cameras. He also built the first movie studio and called it the Black Maria because it resembled a police patrol wagon with the same nickname. Movie lights did not exist yet, so they opened the roof and used the sunlight. As the sun moved, the studio followed it on a revolving track. And if you've ever seen old movies, boys and girls, from black and white movies, sometimes you can see how it revolved and moved. It's not the way we do movies today. Present day. Today we can watch our favorite movies on a big screen, at home, or even on our phones. Edison's lab. The first movies were shown on Edison's kinetoscope, which did not project images onto a screen. It was built for peephole viewing. One person watched at a time. So back in the old days, boys and girls, only one person could watch a movie or a video like this, one at a time. The other people had to wait their turn. Edison's kinetophone was the first projector to show movies with synchronized sound. The projector was connected to a phonograph. It wasn't perfect, but it was a first. So later they started having these projectors too. When people watched movies for the first time, they were amazed to see even the simplest movements, like a woman dancing, a man sneezing, a boat in the water, a man posing, and a rooster walking. Present day. It's very possible you may have walked on pavement created in Edison's factory. Edison's cement was used for all sorts of construction, like dams, buildings, roads, sidewalks, and the original Yankee Stadium. He even built a few cement houses. Oddly enough, his successful cement business was the result of a major failure. Wow, so he actually discovered cement by a mistake. So in Edison's lab, he originally built a special factory to remove iron ore from rocks, then use the ore to make iron briquettes for steel production. He and his team designed remarkable machinery for the project. The iron ore project failed, but instead of being discouraged, the team changed their plans and used the rock waste sand to manufacture cement. Success! It was necessary to roast a large supply of cement mixture. So Edison designed a roasting kiln that was 150 feet long, more than twice the size of average kilns. And here we have some diagrams, boys and girls, with some captions. So here it says large crushing rollers. Rocks containing iron ore are crushed into a mixture of tiny iron ore pieces and rock waste. And this is the way it is used. So we have the magnetic ore separator. We have the iron and rock waste at the top. The magnet, which connects everything all together. So that connects with the rock waste and the iron ore. So as the mixture drops into a container below, a magnet separates the iron ore pieces from the rock waste. Present day. When you chat with your friend on a computer, you send electronic messages across wires and radio waves, just like the old telegraph machines did. Edison began working as a telegraph operator in his teens. So in Edison's lab, he eventually improved telegraph technology with machines that could not only send messages faster, but could also send several different messages on the same wire and in opposite directions. So here we have the telegraph, and here we have the quadruplex telegraph. And also in present day, boys and girls, we use radio waves to transmit all types of signals, including those from mobile phones, radar, television, and radio. But in Edison's lab, Thomas Edison was among the first to discover radio waves in the air, although at the time he couldn't fully explain his discovery. Present day. Our quality of life has certainly been improved by the extraordinary work of Thomas Edison and his colleagues at the labs. Think about this. Bedtime stories would be very different today if it were not for Edison's most popular and important invention, the incandescent light bulb. Edison's lab. After thousands of experiments, Thomas Edison produced a light bulb that was perfect for homes and offices. It was sturdy, safe, and bright. It also burned a long time. This breakthrough ultimately changed the way we live, and it was also excellent for shadow puppets. So that was probably his most important invention that we use today, boys and girls. Present day. Edison's bulbs worked as part of an elaborate light and power system large enough to power an entire city. He once told a newspaper that he would be the first person to light up a portion of New York City. It took 4 years of hard work, but he kept his word. Edison's lab. Edison built the first large electric generator and power system on Pearl Street in Manhattan. The key feature was its ability to send electricity to many different locations at once. It became the model for the future. And that's actually very important today, boys and girls. Present day. So every time you turn on a light, think of Thomas Edison and remember everything he gave us. And here we have a timeline, boys and girls. So I'm going to start it here. 1859, he was age 12. 1869, vote recorder. That's when he created these inventions. 1874, quadruplex telegraph. 1875, electric pen. 1877, telephone transmitter. 1877, tinfoil phonograph. 1879, incandescent light bulb. 1880, ore separator. 1882, power station. 1888, wax cylinder phonograph. 1890, arcade photograph. 1891, kinetograph. 1891, kinetoscope. 1896, fluoroscope. 1900, large kiln. 1903, cement production. 1910, alkaline battery. 1913, kinetophone. And in 1918, he invented the Ediphone. So Edison's lab. One of the greatest tributes to his work came on the day of his funeral in 1931. President Herbert Hoover asked the entire country to honor Edison by turning off the lights for a minute of darkness. People everywhere honored a lifelong career filled with important inventions and innovations, a career that began in the small home laboratory of a young boy with lots of ambition and dreams. And that is the end of our story, boys and girls. I hope you all enjoyed learning about Thomas Edison this week. I hope you all have an amazing day.